right, everyone. Thanks for being patient. We had, as you could probably tell, we had one more there we were waiting on. We'll go right into questions if you're okay with it. JJ?
Jeff, can you just talk about the mood today and, this class means to the future of the program?
Yeah, obviously with the crazy times of recruiting this last year, this will be a class that you'll always be remembering just for how it went down. A lot of Zooms, no official visits, no camps. This will historically be the most different class we've ever signed, just for the pure just 2020 and COVID. So we went with guys that we knew very well, had some history with, but we didn't want any surprises. So that was our focus, and that's what we pulled off.
Evan?
Hey, Coach, you mentioned it a little there, but I'm just wondering how difficult this recruiting process was, and do you feel like you were still able to do what you would normally do in a recruiting cycle, or what was the major differences? Is the Zoom really the biggest change in all of it?
Not having camps was the biggest difference, because you don't have actual height, weight, speed, vertical, broad, pro agility. Coach them on the field, see how they react to situations. That's a little different. So we took, 9 high school kids, 3 junior college, and 2 grad transfers. Trying to go older. We still have, 3 to 5 that we think we'll pick up. We're going to try to save 3 initials as well for later on. So we're about right where we need to be right now.
So I saw right now we're at 14, and you are expecting a few more names to trickle in for the rest of the day, the next couple of days?
We expect 1 more today, and then we could go as high as 3 or 4 more by February, or we might just save them. We're going to have to decide and just see what it looks like.
And then just overall, how do you feel about the guys you brought in, and did you get everybody you were expecting to get?
Yeah, every single kid that we expected to get today came across. We've been in communication with all of them. We knew what was going on. So, we're thrilled with the guys we got, and we really wanted to stress our line play. So D-line, O-line was very big for us. And our quarterback situation, we took another good quarterback in Eddie Lee Marburger, got a really good running back, Kaborian Bond. We can go through each one of them. However y'all want to do that, it's up to you guys. Just let me know how y'all want to do it, and we'll do that.
I specifically would love for you to go through the 3 San Antonio guys that you brought in, if possible.
Yeah, we were on the phone with Jalen Rainey. It seems like as much as any kid we've ever recruited, he's going to really help us in the secondary. So, bright kid, tall, athletic, articulate. Really, really fired up about him. Just, of course, it's Cam Scott. And obviously we got teammates, on here as well, so that always helps. Especially with Jaden, Brandeis, having Brandon Madison. It's just good to have guys on the same team. It helps us got kids. Obviously, Cam Scott, Converse Judson, big old offensive lineman. Cam and I have been back and forth on the phone, seems like forever as well. FaceTime. Really, really excited to get him, beat some real good Power 5 offers, SEC offers. So we were really, again, we won some battles over SEC because of the 2-1-0. We got to stay home and help. So that was really big. And we're not done with San Antonio kids either. We feel like there'll still be, 2 to 4 more of those kids be on our roster by next year. So we feel really good about that. And trying to think who the third one is right now.
San Antonio area, I should say, Caden Holt.
Oh yeah, you can say it. I thought you knew something about some of our commits that I can't talk about. I'm afraid I couldn't talk about right now. Caden's been a guy that's been fantastic as well. I mean, he was on board a lot quicker and been in communication a lot. He's really excited about being here. Not that Jalen and Cam were not. It's just Jalen was, him and Cam made his grind it out a lot longer, where Caden got on board pretty quick. Our linebacker room is so thin. Those guys have a chance to come in and contribute pretty quick. As you saw, Jamal Liggins had to play almost every snap this year as a true freshman. Trevor Harmson held up in there very well. And Tyler Monkey, those 3 guys pretty much played every snap. And they all were injured the entire year and still made it through for us. Avery Morris, another true freshman, went there and played for us this year. So that's a spot we needed to really address. We're expecting that position to also get added to today.
Sweet. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, Greg.
Jeff, it seemed like you guys were still adding some extra commitments, even last night and yesterday. What was the late push like internally for you guys?
Just local kids again that we felt really good about. That we just can't miss on our own kids. And if they go off and go somewhere else and play, I'm okay with that. They need to know we offered them, we recruited them, tried to get them in here. And that's exactly what that was.
Do you feel like you guys did a good job of that to the level you've talked about that a lot of wanting to keep the top San Antonio guys here and have a good relationship with all of them? Do you feel like you kind of cast the net you needed to in this process? Are you happy in that regard?
Yeah, we are. We're disappointed that we didn't get to have camp. We're going to make a big push, try to be the first one, get our camp dates out so the kids can come in here and we can get our eyes on them and make sure we know who they are. We want to give our San Antonio kids the first opportunity here. And because we didn't get to do camps, that's disappointing a little bit. But we feel really good. And before this is done, there's going to be more San Antonio kids on the 2021 team than what we signed in LIs today.
You talked about the focus in terms of some of the position groups, and you brought in a bunch of defensive guys. Were there certain, traits or qualities you look for in common with those guys, or when you go to identify players that you really want to make sure you get?
Size and explosiveness, guys that love football and guys that want to be here. We don't beg them to play. If they give us any hint, they're like that, we'll just move away from them. We don't want to do that. There's a certain culture we want here that's very important to us. And so length, speed, power, but also culture. Our guys love to practice football. They love to play football. And we want guys that love to practice and love to play. I'm not real big into me guys that are always about themselves. That gets old after a while, so we move off those kind of young men. Best of luck to them. They'll probably do great in other places. They just don't fit into our culture very well.
And compared to some of the other position groups, it seems like you guys did not focus as much on the offensive skill positions, the running backs, the receivers, and tight ends. Is that just a testament to the guys you have on the roster, or is that something you guys are still looking at going forward?
We have certain numbers at each group that we want. And we feel good about our receiver number. We're probably going to take 1 in this class. Our running backs, we're going to take 1. We'll probably be looking for a tight end in the spring. Probably a guy. Quarterback, we took care of. Line, we took care of. Just our numbers. Like we have certain numbers that on our roster. 5 to 6 at running back, 5 to 6 tight ends, 5 to 6 quarterbacks. 15 to 16 offensive linemen, 8 to 10 wide receivers. So that number equals 40. Then we're going to have 40 defensive numbers. So many, 14 to 15 DBs, 8 to 10 linebackers, 10 to 12 defensive linemen. So we're going to stay in those numbers where that equals 40. We're always have 3 for special teams, and then head coach gets 2. So that equals 85, 40 on O, 40 on D, 3 specialists, head man gets 2, do what he wants to. So we stay in those numbers. So we're recruiting to be in those numbers.
Hector, you're up.
Good afternoon, Coach.
Oh, Hector.
When you talk about the importance of reaching out to every 210 or area guy, and I'm sorry if this isn't meant to be taken literally, but I guess that's why you asked the question. Do you mean every single guy who's worthy? Even the guys who it's obvious that schools from throughout the country, Power Fives, et cetera, are going to offer this kid. Do you make it a point to still go after that guy or at least show some kind of interest?
Yeah. For one, they might just want to stay home. And then number 2, they might get up there and find out San Antonio's a lot better than they thought it was. Sometimes you don't know what you got until it's gone. So you leave the 2-1-0, you go off, and you're like, wait a minute, this isn't as good as I thought it was. And we get them on the bounce back. So there's a couple of reasons. I just named them both. The bounce back, and they might just be very loyal to the 2-1-0 and want to build this thing right now.
Thank you, Coach.
Okay, Greg.
Jeff, what's the outlook for getting some of these guys here in the spring? Is that something that's still feasible, or is that a little different because of COVID? How do you guys go forward from here?
Do you mean of these current players? We think I think we're at 8 or 9 of them will be here for spring ball.
Did you get to talk to all of them in person today as the NLIs rolled in, or what was your interaction like with them as this was happening this morning?
Oh yeah, we FaceTimed every one of them. And if I might have been out when the FaceTime came in, I just did it on my own phone myself. So yeah, I love to recruit. I enjoy it. So I take great pride personally in not letting any of my assistants outwork me when it comes to recruiting. Because in the end, I'm going to be here hopefully for a long time, right? I hope all my assistants get all their dream jobs. And if it's not with me and they want to go chase whatever that is, these kids got to know me. And I want them to feel good about me, and I want to feel good about them. Because in the end, I'm the one that has to stand in front of you guys. And it's going to be me that has to answer all these questions for these young men, right? So I want to know what I'm getting. And obviously, I don't know them as well as my assistant coaches know them. But I take great pride in my players knowing how much I care for them and how much relationships matter to me. So what the biggest step for us right now, to be honest with you, is for me to support our current players in our culture, to help teach our new players, and our new players to feel a part of it, and our older players to do a great job of teaching it. That's going to be what year 1 to year 2 is going to be the biggest key, is because you could tell our team morale, our chemistry had a lot to do with our success this year. And that's going to be very important in this transition, that we get our culture established. And we recruited to that. So these players know what I'm talking about, and they're all on board with that. That's going to be a big step for us from year 1 to year 2.
Did you get a sense of what this day was like for a lot of those guys? I imagine the process was a lot different in many cases without as much ceremony and things like that because of COVID. What were the emotions like for the kids you talked to?
These kids, I don't want to say they feel like they've had a raw deal, but we all kind of felt like it's been a tough year. So you can imagine these seniors, nothing's been normal about this. I saw Mike Leach's interview yesterday, I believe, and he probably said some things we all wanted to say. He just had the guts to say it. But that's how a lot of those kids feel, to be honest. they're going to be pleasantly surprised when they get here of how much better than they even know it really is. I know we did a great job on Zoom, but the culture here is so established and our locker room is so good and our players are such great players. It's going to be a lot of fun for these 14 and the next, what we expect to get 6 more before we take the field in 2021.
Okay, Hector?
Coach, has it crossed your mind that you haven't had, oh, am I muted? No, I'm not muted. Has it crossed your mind that you haven't had as crazy as a day and as a period as signing time is, you haven't had a normal one? Like last year you came, your first signing day was like a week after you came on board, and now this with COVID, has it that entered your mind?
Yes, sir. It's why you see I was so heavy in transfers in junior college this time, because I had a relationship with all those kids. I knew factually how big they were. I've told y'all this before, and I'll reiterate it. Recruiting, if you lose a kid, right, you might have to play against that guy one time a year. So you're going to pay for that one time. If you take a player that's not as good as you thought he was, Hector, that kid's going to be on your roster for 4 years. So you're going to have to deal with that every single day. So I know in y'all's world, it looks like when we miss on a kid, like somebody beats us out on a recruit, that's a bad thing. And I agree with you. That is a bad thing. But the worst part is a misevaluation, Hector. If you misevaluate, that's the worst part. So we feel really good about the 14 kids we brought in here because we've had our eyes on them and we know what their real measurables are.
Thank you, Coach. And if nobody else has a signing day period question, I'd like to ask an unrelated but kind of related to the report today that the Kansas State is saying it's not eligible. I know you can't control that, Coach, but how does that affect your preparation in terms of having wanted to know by this weekend? I mean, where are you with that in terms of getting ready for a bowl game that we're trying to get settled?
Yeah, well, 2 days of K-State down the drain, right? So they can just add to the SMU pile, the LSU pile, the Grambling pile, the Memphis pile, the Marshall pile. It just goes in the pile, Hector. It's, you know what? I can see the end in sight, Hector. I had to refocus. Shame on me for thinking it was last Saturday, but surely, Hector, it's going to be the next Saturday.
Thank you, Coach.
Anything else for Coach Traylor? All right. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate your patience. Sorry we were a little late.
Jeff.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Coach.